Rock and Roll Geek Show 825.
Still rocking after all these years.
This is the story of my rock and roll butler.
This is it, the show that started it all. Often imitated, but never equal. From San Francisco, USA, online since 2004. It's the one and only Rock and Roll Geek Show. With the original Rock and Roll Geek, Michael Butler.
Welcome to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. My name's Michael Butler. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. Today is Saturday, April 28th, 2018, and it is 7:37 p.m. when I'm recording this episode. I have not done an episode since April 1st, 2018. This is probably one of the longest stretches I've gone without doing an episode. I would have done one. I would have done more than one, but I have not. First of all, I would like to apologize to all the people who donated or have been asking about why I have not done a show and when I'm going to do another show. I have literally not had one day available where I could do a show, other than the ones that I've done Mad at Dad. I probably should have. Well, I could have told my friend Dave Slusher and my podcast mentor that I need to do a Rock and Roll Geek Show, but I felt like I would have let him down. And if there's one thing about your friend Michael Butler, he's a loyal friend and does not like to let people down. So I did not cancel Mad at Dad to do a Rock and Roll Geek Show. So here I am, almost a month later, with my tail between my legs, begging for forgiveness of the friends of the Rock and Roll Geek Show. My Tourette's is going berserk. I am no doubt going to screw things up with professionalism because it's been so long. I'm going to right now plop a Tecate in this Yeti knockoff koozie and take a sip of my third beer of the day. I have been up since 4 a.m. I went to a fishing tournament today. And it started at 6 a.m. You had to be there at 6 a.m. to sign up. I got there at 5:30 a.m. And the guy doing the sign-ups was already signing people up. So I loaded my kayak up and started fishing at 6 a.m. So I was out on the water fishing at 6 a.m. And I came in second place in this fishing tournament. Caught a 27-inch halibut, which I'm going to have for dinner tomorrow night. So I'm a little bit tired. Well, I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm a lot tired, but what else is new? My life exists of me being tired. When you get to be my age, friends, you plan your life around how much sleep you can get, and I don't seem to get enough. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to get caught up on a bunch of stuff. I have emails to read. I use this thing called Omni Outliner, and I have an outline of things when things come to mind, what I should include in a show. I will put it in this outliner. So I'm gonna burn through the outliner, gonna read some emails. I'm gonna play some songs that I've been meaning to play for you, and I'm gonna talk about Judas Priest concert and many other things on this show, friends. Let's try to make it as professional as we can, shall we? All right. I'm going to start off with a song by Jeff Whalen. Jeff Whalen was the singer and main songwriter of a band called Czar. That first Czar album, which was called Calling All Destroyers. Well, either in Europe it was just called Czar, and in the United States it was Calling All Destroyers, or vice versa. That came out on Hollywood Records. That is one of my favorite albums of all time. It is a near-perfect record. Top to bottom, it's nearly perfect. Produced by Rob Cavallo, which has probably something to do with why it's so good. But the main reason why it's so good is because the songs were just outstanding. Well, I don't know if you remember, but I reposted Classic Albums Revisited from... I had Jeff Whalen on the show a long time ago, and we did a track-by-track of that first Czar record, and he sent me an email out of the blue telling me that he was unable to listen to that track by track because it says download not available, and wondered if I could send him the MP3 file. So what I did was I found it and I reposted it. A lot of times the old episodes of my show, if you click to listen to them at RnRGeek.com, they won't play because I used to host my files on the Podshow/Mevio servers. I don't know if this is a little bit too inside for people, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The place I used to work, Podshow and Mevio, they used to host all of our MP3s for free, so I hosted them all there. And when they went out of business, they just said, "Fuck it, your MP3s are no longer available," and that's that. So everything that I posted that had a link to the MP3s is no longer available. So when people, excuse me, pardon, I'm coughing up this fine Tecate. Let me take a sip of this fine Tecate here. So when people send me an email or leave me a comment and say, "Hey, I tried to listen to this episode, this interview, et cetera, on RnRGeek.com, and it doesn't play," I will make it a point to do my best to see if I still have that episode, and I will re-upload it. So that's what I did for Jeff Whalen, and he emailed me and told me thank you and all that, et cetera, and said he had a new solo album coming out. As soon as he finds a record label to put it out, he's gonna have a new solo album, and he will send it to me when it comes out or whatever, something like that. I don't want to name drop like Mr. Eddie Trunk does, but anyway. So when I talked about that somewhere, maybe on the Rock and Roll Geek Show or something, but my friend Jeff Rugby, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, Jeff Rugby, used to work at Rykodisc. He's the guy who I had on the show. We talked about David Bowie. We did a whole episode about David Bowie because he was doing a David Bowie art installation or something like that, or he was doing a lecture about David Bowie, and he mentioned how much he liked Czar. Anyway, Jeff Rugby heard me talking about that on the Rock and Roll Geek Show, that Jeff Whalen was looking for a label to put out his record, and lo and behold, Jeff Rugby contacted me and said, "Hey, can you put me in touch with Jeff Whalen? I would like to put his record out." So, a couple of months go by, and Jeff Whalen's got a solo album coming out on Super Megabot, and he's doing a Pledge Music. Super Megabot, owned by my friend Jeff Rugby. So, in the vein of Eddie Trunk, I made this happen. Anyway, so basically all I did was introduce the two of them. So I introduced the two of them. They hit it off. Jeff Whalen's got a solo album coming out. The Pledge Music. You can go to pledgemusic.com and look for Jeff Whalen. I'll post a link to it on rockandrollgeek.com. He's got a whole. Why do Pledge Music if a label's putting out? You may say. Well, the label's going to put it out regardless, but on the Pledge Music, there's a whole bunch of bonus stuff you can get. You can get a new album and 2 Pledge exclusive CDs only in this bundle. It has the CD of his new record, which is going to be called 10 More Super Rock Hits. 10 More Rock Super Hits. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, 10 More Rock Super Hits. You get that. You get a 6-song CD EP of demos, alternate versions that didn't make the album, blah, blah, blah. And you get a full-length, never before heard pre-Czar Jeff Whalen solo album on CD. There's a bunch of other stuff on the Pledge Music as well. There's signed vinyl. You get there's a signed CD, your name and thank you credits. There's a lyric book. There's T-shirts. a whole bunch of stuff. I will post a link at rockandrollgeek.com. So anyway, I'm going to play. This is probably a world exclusive. I don't know if you pre-order on Pledge Music, you might get this song. I don't think so though. Never before heard that I know of. Brand new Jeff Whalen, and I like it a lot. This song is called Jendi.
Girl goes to Cascade Dominguez Hills. We had a notable fight, staying up all night on grandma's pills. But damn, I love her, yeah, and we're living in the USA. She said talk is cheap, but she let me sleep with her anyway. From her tongue to her shoes, getting hit to the news about Jenny, 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 oh Jenny, 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 oh Jenny, 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 oh Jenny, 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 Jenny. She's got starry eyes, oh oh, and a motorbike, oh oh, and Saturday Night Live makes her cry. I wanna kiss her. Now Derek and the Heat are a critically acclaimed rock band, and they load that gear in a common gear to across the town. And though I never met them, got a feeling that they're alright. Like a cat in a cage when they hit that stage, man, the dynamite. Ooh, Derek and the Heat are walking down the street singing Jenny, 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 oh Jenny, 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 oh Jenny, 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 oh Jenny, 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 Jenny. She's got stormy eyes, oh, oh, under the party lights, oh, oh, if somebody's gonna take her home, I wanna do it. And when the nation cries, oh, oh, and many people die, oh, oh, I write her name on my sneakers while she wears my jacket, oh, oh, here she comes. Jenny, 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 oh Jenny, 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 oh Jenny, 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 Jenny.
There you go. That is good to me, man. I am a sucker for a good pop song, and that is a great pop song. I told Jeff Whalen this, and I'm going to tell Jeff Rugby this if he's listening. I want my gold album if this album breaks big. Okay? There you go. Oh, all right. Let's do the donations, shall we? Thank you to everybody who donated to the show, even when I didn't do a show for a month or almost a month. These loyal friends of the show continued to donate. Thank you, friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Without your donations, this show would die a horrible, putrid, stench-filled death. And I would like to thank the following people who donated. But before I do, I need to find some music to play in the background. I'm going to play something. I played a little bit of this on a recent Mad at Dad. This is Juliana Hatfield, who I think has the sexiest female voice, next to the great Chrissy Amphlett, and Bridget West, and Noelle LeBlanc. Juliana Hatfield is right up there with sexy voices. And she does a whole album of Olivia Newton-John tunes. All right, does that sound interesting to you? Well, in the background, that's what we're going to hear, friends. All right. So there are several ways you can donate to the show. One of the ways you can donate is to go to patreon.com/RnRGeek and make a donation on the Patreon there. But let's hear a little bit of Juliana Hatfield first. What a voice.
We both know I've got somewhere else to go. But I got something to tell you that I never thought and I believe
you can go to Patreon and donate, like my good friend Michael Brown, my childhood concert friend, donates $25 every episode. Joe Pawlak went to Patreon and donated $6.66 per episode.
You don't have to answer.
Brad Shick, $5 an episode. Bette Wood, $5. Let's get into the chorus and I will continue. And then I'll go to another song.
That it's coming from my heart.
Thank you to Daniel Segan for the $5 every episode on Patreon.
I love you. I honestly love you. I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable.
How about a little bit of this? Oh, Olivia Newton-John had some pretty catchy tunes too. Thank you to Daniel Segan for the $5. Thanks to my friend Michael Street for the $5. Speaking of Michael Street, who I met at the Rockin' Pod Expo, I should say this now before I forget. Believe it or not, after all the drama at the Rockin' Pod Expo last year, I was invited back. Yes, there is a Rockin' Pod Expo 2. And your friend Michael Butler was invited back. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was a listener of the Rock and Roll Geek Show or any of the other podcasts and knew about this drama that went down, I would want to be there and find out if shit hits the fan when Michael Butler shows up. Or is he going to get his ass beat when he shows up? That is worth it. That's worth the $10 admission. They have a GoFundMe, and they desperately need your money, friends. For $10, you'll get into the show. I also have several perks, like I did last year. First of all, if you go to the show and go and donate the $10 on the GoFundMe and say it's for the Rock and Roll Geek Show, and if you show up, you're going to sit around and drink beers with your friend Michael Butler. Compliments of me, friends. But you can also. There's several perks that I have, like last year. I think it's like $100 or something. You get to sit in on a show with me. You program the entire show, and we'll drink beer the entire time. I think there's another one where I will take you out to dinner, you and your wife or girlfriend, and the drinks are on me, and the dinner's on me. Anyway, go to the Rockin' Pod Expo GoFundMe site. I will post a link on rockandrollgeek.com on the show notes where you can do that. There may be a roast of your friend Michael Butler. There may be a battle royale where everybody can take turns trying to kick Michael Butler's ass. This year, there's a lot more stars that are going to be shown, or quote stars, a lot more big names that are going to be there. People from Winger are going to be there. There is a former member of a very, very big 70s rock band that has been out of the public eye for a long time, that is making an appearance, supposedly going to make an appearance. That I can't announce who that is yet because I was told not to. But one of the guys from Korn is going to be there. I'm going to try to get Derek St. Holmes to come. I'm going to try to get B.B. Buell to show up. It's going to be a good time, friends. And if you're anywhere on the East Coast and can make the trip to Nashville and would like to hang out with your friend Michael Butler and drink all of his Tecates, go there. All right. That's all for thanking Michael Street. Thanks, Michael Street, for the $5. What else we have here? How about this one? Thanks to my good friend Chiaki Hinohara of the Metal Moment podcast for the $5. Chiaki's going to come over tomorrow, and we're going to have some halibut. I'm going to try to go fishing, crabbing and fishing in the morning as well. Maybe we'll have a combination crab feast and halibut feast. Thanks to Ken Kennedy for the $5. Thanks to Brian Springer for the $5. Thanks to my podcast mentor and co-host of Mad at Dad, Dave Slusher, for the $5. Thanks to Paul Roub, or Paul Roub. I don't know how you pronounce his name. He left an audio comment on one of the recent, or sent me a song on a recent episode, I think. For the $2.25. Why $2.25? I don't know, but he did. Thanks to Patrick Shanahan for the $2. Thanks to Mario Zoth for the $2. Thanks to Bruce McMillan for the $2. Thanks to Matthew Hunt for the $2. Fellow kayaker Matthew Hunt. Thanks to Eric Stowell for the $2. Thanks to Robert Harvey for the $2. Thanks to new donor Arne Stach. I love that name, Arne Stach. Thanks, Arne Stach. I'm taking some of this fine Tecate to you. Welcome, friend. All right, how about this one? Thanks to Ron Embody for the $1. Thanks to Three Legs, Four Wheels for the $1. Thanks to Bondstone for the $1. Thanks to Mike Dixon for the $1 every episode. Thanks to John Richardson for the $1. Thanks to Corey Kohler for the $1. All right, that's one way you can donate to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. As Adam Curry says on the agenda, this show is value for value. So donate what you think this show is worth. If you think it's worth $1 an episode, donate $1. If you think it's worth $100 an episode, I like you even more, friends. If you think the show's a piece of garbage and not worth anything, you can just go to rockandrollgeek.com and click the Amazon link and buy something on Amazon. And you don't have to pay a dime out of your pocket, and I'll get a little kickback. Or you can go to PayPal. There's a link on rockandrollgeek.com where you can click the PayPal link, and you can donate through there, friends. Like Zach Erlocker did. He donated $20. I have an audio comment from him to play as well, maybe 2. Thanks to my first girlfriend. By the way, Zach Erlocker, he donated to American Heartbreak at gmail.com or something, or whatever, something like that. No, he donated to rockandrollgeek at gmail.com, which goes to a different PayPal. So I would prefer you click the PayPal link on the show notes at rockandrollgeek.com, but I will get the money if you donate the other way. Thanks to my first girlfriend, Elodie Johns. Thanks to Michael Williams for the... Elodie donated $20. Michael Williams, thank you for the $2. Thanks to Jeff and Sherry Thielalaki for the $10. Thanks to Adrian Bashon, Boshrock on the forums and on the Rock and Roll Geek Facebook page, which I did not create, but I do approve people. Thanks to John Tennis for the $5. Thanks to Dave Franco for the $5. Thanks to Greg Long for the $5. Can we get one more on here? Let's hear. How about this one? Where are we? Thanks to Greg Long for the $5. Thanks to Jeff C.A. for the $5.
It's not the first.
Thanks to Eric Lentz for the $5.
My eyes are
Oh,
the first.
sing it, my lovely Juliana Hatfield.
I'm not the first to know. There's just no getting over you.
Thanks to James Venters for the $10. Thanks to Kelly Mitchell for the $5. Thanks to Deborah Dreyfus, if that's your real name, for the $2. Thanks to Richard Fusey for the $2. Thanks to Richard Strom for the $5. Thanks to Dale Roller for the $5. Thanks to Andrew Howe for the $5. Thanks to Jer O'Carroll for the $5. Thanks to Jason Shepard for the $10. Thanks again for another $5 to Kelly Mitchell. Thanks to Christopher Del Grande for the $5. Thanks to John Offenloch for the $5. Thanks to friend of mine and friend of the show, Todd Cunningham, for the $10. I get one more of these. Thanks to Lassie Satvinhagen for the $2. Thanks to John Skiller for the $2. Thanks to Bradley Lisco for the $10. Thanks to Douglas Free for the $20. Thanks to William Moffat for the $1. Thanks to Brett Garsky for the $5. Thanks to friend of the show and friend of mine, Ralph Miller for the $10. Thanks to Craig Vasiloff for the $5. Thanks to Bradford Page for the $2. Thanks to School of Podcasting Dave Jackson for the $10.
I have to say, there just might be another way.
Thanks to Sigmund Heidacher for the $5. Thanks to Peter Spark for the $2. And finally, thanks to John Baveri for the $5. Thank you, everybody who donated to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. Please keep the donations coming, because without your donations, this show would die horrible, putrid, stench-filled, getting killed in a kayak, getting smashed over the head by your wife or ex-girlfriend or mistress. Kind of death. All right, thank you, Juliana Hatfield. So a lot has happened to me since the last episode. Not to me, but in my life. The Butlers played a gig on a Wednesday night with Saxon. Judas Priest, Saxon, and Black Star Riders were are on tour right now, and Saxon's supporting. And they had a day off. They came to San Francisco on last Thursday. Eric Mortensen, the metal CPA, was so gracious to give me a free ticket to Judas Priest. I said I would only go if somebody gave me a free ticket, and somebody pulled through for me. Thank you, Eric Mortensen. Pardon me, I'm burping up this fine Tecate. Anyway, I'll talk about that in a second, but the night before, the Butlers supported Saxon at a club called Cornerstone. It was Saxon headlining, the Butlers supported, and opening was this band called The Watchers, who has these two guys who play in a ZZ Top tribute band. The Watchers is an all-original heavy rock band. They were actually really good. But the singer and the bass player are also in a ZZ Top tribute band. They're probably the best tribute band I've ever seen. They look exactly like the guys in ZZ Top. And the guy who plays Billy Gibbons' part is a ripping guitar player and sounds just like Billy Gibbons, and the bass player is a ripping bass player too. They're called Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers. Anyway, Watchers opened. That was a very fun show. I think it was pretty much sold out. I saw a lot of friends there. Good times were had that night. So the next night I went. I had to go to work that morning, so I was exhausted. But I managed to stay up. These are reasons that I didn't do the Rock and Roll Geek Show, friends. I went to. So the next night I went to see Judas Priest because I had a free ticket from Eric Mortensen. It was Judas Priest, Saxon, and Black Star Riders. I wanted to get there in time to see Black Star Riders because although I'm not a huge fan of their records, even though the last one, Heavy Fire, was actually a really good record, I think it might have been in my top 10 of that year. So I got there in time to see them. I actually took public transit because I planned on drinking. and drink I did. I got there about 30 minutes before showtime. Black Star Riders were supposed to go on at 7, and so I got there like 6:30. Went to a bar next door and had some had a beer. Got there, got inside about 10 minutes before Black Star Riders came on. I was sitting right near Eric Mortensen and a couple other people who I don't remember their names, but they're really cool dudes. Oh, Andy from the Butlers, original drum tech, and Eric Mortensen's friend. Cool guys. So I sat with them, but I didn't really hang out with them and talk to them too much. I kind of kept to myself because I wanted to study the show. Black Star Riders came on at 7, and they were actually really good. They played from 7 to 7:40. They played like a 40-minute set. They gave it, their sound wasn't that great, but they gave it 200% on stage. I mean, they were rocking from nonstop from start to finish. They did not stop. Everybody in the band was like giving it all they had. And so for that reason, it was I enjoyed Black Star Riders. I think everybody else did too because they had the crowd going at 7 p.m. Then at 8 o'clock, Saxon came on. Saxon, I'm not a huge fan of that kind of music, of Saxon's music, but other than Wheels of Steel, I don't really know much of their music. I like it fine. It's just, it's not, I'm not an authority on Saxon, but they were really good. And their bass player, I don't know what his name is, but he's been in the band like 25 years, something like that. It's pretty much all like the guys on the band. I think he might be the new guy. Everybody else has been in from the start, I think. They put on a good show. They were rocking, and Biff Byford, I like him a lot. He was very gracious to the audience, and when they sang the song Denim and Leather, there was a guy with a leather jacket, and he grabbed the guy. He asked the guy in the front row that had the leather jacket to hand him his leather jacket, and he held onto the leather jacket, put it on the drum riser, and I'm thinking, well, is he gonna take that guy's leather jacket and not give it back to him? But he pulled out his Sharpie, and he signed his name on the leather jacket, and they handed it back to the guy in the front, and the guy in the front was like super stoked. Let me take a sip of this fine Tecate. Then he did the same thing with somebody's denim vest, signed that. It was a fun show. That bass player in Saxon was rocking out hard. He was all over the stage, way more. He jumped around way more than I did. So if people give me shit about moving around too much on stage, this guy moved around way more than me, and he was a good bass player too. I enjoyed Saxon quite a lot. After that, Judas Priest came on at 9:20. I have the times in front of me here because my friend Roger Miller was stagehanding the show. They played from 9:20 to 10:50. So what's that? 9:20. So they played an hour and a half. 9:20 to 10. Yeah, an hour and a half. That's not that long of a set to play. Speaking of that, playing not long of sets. When I saw The Darkness, I think somebody called in a Darkness review. I'll talk about that. But they only played like an hour and 10 minutes. That was way too short for The Darkness. But anyway, back to Judas Priest. I don't remember their set list, but it was a good set list. The only problem, the stage looked awesome because they played at the Warfield Theater, which is it's a theater and it holds, I don't know, maybe it holds 3,000, 2,500 maybe, something like that. They had a video screen behind the band. They had cloth. You could not see any amps on stage. It was like their logos behind over the amp, like the scrims, and then it also went along the side, so there was like a wall. So the entire stage was engulfed in this Judas Priest cloth with a video screen behind them, and it looked very clean and really metal. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it, but it was extremely metal. The only problem, and Rob Halford came out with this chrome outfit with fringe. He looked absolutely ridiculous, but he looked ridiculous in a great way. I was smiling from ear to ear. Richie Faulkner shredding on guitar. Looked super cool. Was wearing leather he was wearing leather from top to bottom. Rocking out hard. He's really kind of come into his own on the second album, Firepower, which, as you know, it's a great album. Thank you to everybody who, by the way, who gave me positive feedback on my track by track review. That was one of the more one of the more well received track by tracks I've done. Thank you for the kind words, friends. It makes me feel like continuing to do the podcast. He was great. If I would have, and Ian Hill, obviously underrated bass player, just plays one note, but he's badass. He stood in front of on his side of the stage, just in the back. He had some bass pedals, did not move from that spot at all. Scott Travis, good drummer. You know how Scott Travis is. He was fine. The only problem I had with the show was Andy Sneed. He played fine, but something about seeing this guy with bald head and a beard, if it's not Rob Halford on the guitar player, it was distracting. I had to put my hand, I would take my hand and like cover up Andy Sneed so I could only see Richie Faulkner, and it made it a lot better. And by the way, the signature of Judas Priest was this alternating of all the songs. They would do duo, they would be KK would do his solo. Then in the second half of the solo would be Glenn Tipton. Then they go back to KK and then back to Glenn. They would alternate solos. Well, this time, throughout almost the entire set, I believe that Richie Faulkner was playing pretty much all of the solos. Occasionally, Andy Sneed would play a solo here and there, but for the most part, it was Richie Faulkner. That was kind of distracting because to me, that's why Judas Priest has always been so great. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. On the encore, so on the last song, I forget what the last song of the set was, but you can look on Setlist FM and see what the set was. It was a great set. They did Running Wild. They did Hellbent for Leather. Could have been Hellbent for Leather, the last song of the set. So on the last song, Eric Mortensen taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, look on the side of the stage. There's a guy in sunglasses." And you look on the side of the stage, because where we were sitting, we were on the balcony. You could see over that cloth into the backstage a little bit. And there was a guy who looked exactly like Glenn Tipton. Sure enough, during the encore, Glenn Tipton came out on stage and played the encore. Andy Sneed did not leave the stage. He stood in the back, parallel to Ian Hill, and stood in one place with his legs spread, and Glenn Tipton did his thing, and Richie Faulkner did his thing. Pardon me, this Tecate. It was very, very, very noticeable that Glenn Tipton has Parkinson's. He did not look like Glenn Tipton of old. It was nice to see him get out there and play, and the audience was extremely well receptive to Glenn Tipton playing, but he was having trouble doing it. They did Breaking the Law. The first thing they came out with was on the encore was Metal Gods, which I love. Everybody loves that. Breaking the Law, Living After Midnight. Was that all the three? They might have done one more. I don't remember. All in all, the Judas Priest show was worth every dime I spent on that show, which was nothing except for about the 4 beers I bought for $10 a beer. So I did spend about $40, and I got pretty drunk. But I managed to, I stopped drinking about halfway through Judas Priest's set and sobered up, because once I had to take public transit back to my car. By then I was pretty much sobered up. But it was a good show. I was exhausted the next day at work, but it was well worth it. So if Judas Priest is coming to your town on this tour, go see him, because you'll still like him even without Glenn Tipton. Just do like I did and put your hand over your face and block out Andy Sneed. I'm sure he's a great guitar player, and I'm sure he's a great record producer and a great guy, but it was distracting for me. And get there early and go see Black Star Riders as well. Judas Priest has announced that they're going to do a co-headlining tour of amphitheaters, which are better known as sheds, outdoor amphitheaters, with a cool dual headlining show with Deep Purple. And on the advertisements, Glenn Tipton is in the picture, not Andy Sneap. So I don't know what that means, but probably doesn't mean anything. It probably means they were just too lazy to change their promo shots. They're gonna. I'm predicting they might have a little bit trouble selling tickets to that show, because I've seen that a lot of radio stations and stuff are already giving away a lot of tickets to it. So you can go see him in an amphitheater if you missed the theater run they're doing now. But I would suggest go seeing this, because although I would like to see Deep Purple, American Heartbreak played a side stage a long time ago, and Deep Purple was the headliner. It was a fun show. Deep Purple were great. I love Ian Gillan. All right, there's my Judas Priest show review. I think I'm going to play a song now, because I need to stop talking for a few minutes, because I'm losing my voice. I don't know why, but I am. I need to take a few sips of beer. So I'm going to play for you now. Oh, here's what I'm going to play. I'm going to play a brand new Hardcore Superstar song. I meant to play this a long time ago, but I haven't got around to doing a show, so I'm going to play it now. This came out, they released this song a couple of weeks ago, I think. This song is called Electric Rider, brand new Hardcore Superstar.
Wired up to take a ride on the skyline.
There you go. Brand new hardcore superstar. That song is called Electric Rider. All right. I have an audio comment. I have a few audio comments, but here's one now. Hello, caller. Hold on. Let me back it up.
Hello, Michael Butler.
Hello.
This is Brett Garsky, friend of the show.
Hello, friend of the show. Brett Garsky. Long time no hear.
And I have the rock and roll princess with me. Say hello.
Hi, Michael.
And we're going to
hello, princess.
Do a review of The Darkness. We just saw that.
Let me back that up here, rock and roll princess again. She sounds thrilled.
The rock and roll princess with me. Say hello.
Hi, Michael.
Oh, boy. Okay, she does not want to talk to me. That's fine.
And we're going to do a review of...
What girl would want to talk to me? Look at me. Ugh.
Darkness. We just saw them in Inglewood, Colorado at
Darkness
the Gothic,
show.
which is probably a perfect venue for seeing a band called The Darkness. And the Diarrhea Planet opened up. I've seen both the bands before, so that would get a better perspective of...
Now, I saw... Now I'm yawning up this fine Tecate. I saw the same show, so I'm not same show, but I saw that tour. So I'm going to compare notes with Brett Garsky and the Rock and Roll Princess.
Bands by just asking the Rock and Roll Princess about it. So Diarrhea Planet opened up, lots of energy, 4 guitars, they're from Tennessee. What do you think of them?
They were really fun.
Really?
They had a lot of great energy and really connected with the crowd.
Now, did they play in the dark? Because when I saw them in San Francisco, they were in the dark the entire time. You could not see the band. They were jumping around and had a lot of energy, but I couldn't really get into it because they were in the dark.
It was high energy through the whole thing. 4 guitar players. They look like they're having their time in their life, and who wouldn't if you're on tour with The Darkness? I think they're going to get some great exposure. Their songs, they had a lot of guitars and stuff, and didn't have a lot of hooks. I think
their records have a lot more. The hooks come out a lot more noticeable on their recorded stuff. But yeah, I agree. They didn't sound too catchy live. It could have been the muddy sound or something. I don't know.
After they were done, I wasn't humming any of the songs that they sang.
Exactly.
But
not after The Darkness.
It's like a celebration of guitars. That's what I kind of thought. Just a little description of the venue. It was 1,100 people fit. That was the capacity. It did sell out. And they played a smaller venue last time I saw them on their last tour. So it's good that they're expanding. And so what do you think of the crowd at the there was out of the 1,100 people, how many were women?
There's probably 10 of us women.
Really?
There weren't very many.
Wow, there were a lot of girls at the Darkness show in San Francisco. That's surprising, huh? Because a lot of guys don't want to admit they like The Darkness because I don't know, people might think they're gay or something, but yeah, that's interesting. I would say it was probably half 50-50 men and women at the Darkness show in San Francisco. 10 men, huh? Or 10 women.
In the minority tonight.
So there was no line for the women's room, right?
Yeah,
basically, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I got in and out of there quicker than any other venue I've ever been at.
So it's like the opposite.
Yeah, Michael Street bought me a $12 beer, and I went to the bathroom, and some guy plowed right into me and knocked that $10 beer or $12 beer all over me. It seemed like it was going to taste good. I think I had a sip of it, but yeah. Back to you, Rock and Roll Princess and Brett Garsky.
Of Bronco game.
It was a bro fest for sure.
Oh, really, bro fest?
It was, but and there was a few fights. There was a fight right in front of us.
Fight!
Somebody took a guy's cap off, baseball cap, and threw it in the crowd as a celebration of being a dick. And
well, at the San Francisco show, Justin Hawkins, there was a guy wearing a Giants shirt or Giants cap, baseball cap, and Justin Hawkins played a song with it on for entire song and then gave it back to the guy.
For a while, and the crowd, the bros pulled them apart. And what happened later?
The one guy whose hat got thrown bought the other guy a beer.
There you
And
go.
what did that guy say when the guy bought him a beer?
He said, thanks, but I'm not drinking this thing.
So it all ended great.
Badly.
Anyway, so the darkness.
He bought him a beer. He felt bad about it, but the guy didn't accept it. Did he get? I guess he never got his hat back, huh? Oh well. What are you going to do?
So
One time, not American Heartbreak, but Featherwitch we played a gig, and Casey just had this brand new hat that he had handmade. It was like a $500 hat, and he was so proud of that hat. And I took that hat in the middle of a song. I grabbed that hat off his head and threw it in the crowd as a celebration of rock. Casey wasn't too happy about that either, but he did get his hat back.
Diarrhea Planet played for about half an hour, and then the darkness started right at 9 o'clock.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
They came out with all their guitar glory. They were playing basically the same song set list that they played when you saw them in San Francisco. But the thing that was different is you said they only played for like an hour and 10 minutes, but they played for an hour and a half.
They must have played more songs.
We got lucky, and I don't know what
They
happened.
either played more songs or Justin spent more time talking to the audience. He barely talked to the audience. And I've seen them many times, and he's been very chatty to the audience all the other times I've seen him. And he's seemed to be having a lot better of a time all the other times that I saw him. He barely talked at all to the audience this time. I think he seemed like he was kind of just going through the motions. Maybe he was just not in a great mood or wasn't feeling well or something. I don't know, but that's what I gathered.
In San Francisco. But I don't know, the highlights I think were, for me, the highlights were just Justin and
he's the
how
greatest.
he was just playing with the crowd the whole time. He's a great frontman. And before I went to the show, I listened to your interview with Frankie, the bass player.
Oh, you did?
And it kind of warms my heart up because you interviewed him right when he wasn't in the band, and the band just seems so happy together with Frankie back in the band, and
I love
he
that
played
guy.
the cowbell, and his look is pretty fantastic.
It's great.
With the suit.
Great.
So what do you think of what everyone was wearing with the darkness?
There were a lot of darkness t-shirts in the crowd, and Justin's outfit was my favorite with his leopard skin or leopard print outfit. And,
Did you like when he rolled it down to be topless halfway through the set?
then his short shorts at the
For
end
the
were pretty
encore,
funny too.
yes.
And of course, Frankie, he wore this yellow suit, and it looked like he was out of the 70s. It's a pretty good look.
Thunderbird.
Dan,
He's got
I think it was Dan,
he has a gold anniversary Gibson Thunderbird that I would really like to have. That thing is nice. That's not the main bass, but he pulled that out occasionally. He played the cowbell during on the beginning of One Way Ticket to Hell and Back.
named his Justin's brother.
Dan, great
He
guitar
wore,
player.
Thin
Tracksuit.
Lizzy,
Oh, he did.
Thin Lizzy jacket over a Thin Lizzy t-shirt, and Rufus, the Rufus Taylor, the son of
Roger Taylor.
Queen's drummer. He was just wearing some kind of like shorts and some kind of vest or something like that. Did you see him?
Yeah, I couldn't really tell what he was wearing as much.
What do you think of him as a drummer?
He was a great drummer.
And cute too, huh, Princess?
It's pretty amazing, and even Justin just showed how great he was, and he made some Shakespearean joke that nobody understood in the crowd about it. So.
And another thing, Justin is such an underrated guitar player. That guy is Brian May and Angus Young rolled into one. The guy is a ripping guitar player, and never ever does he get recognized as a great guitar player, but he is a great guitar player.
I will say, though, my favorite was when they brought the cowbell out. That was pretty funny.
yeah, that was highlight.
They've been doing that. They did that like the last 3 times I've seen them.
That last time I saw him too, and when Frankie did, and the crowd just ate it up. And Justin, of course, crowd surfed, and when he crowd surfed, he came back after crowd surfing, and he said it was a lovely time, and it didn't. Sometimes when he does it, it smells like raw sewage, but this time it didn't. And since we're in Colorado, of course, he said it smelled like marijuana and spit, not sweat, spit. He's very specific of what it smelled like. So,
what does spit? What does spit smell like? Liquid bad breath.
One crowd, the energy is so great. I mean, Michael, you told me that when the darkness is in town, you should see them, and that is definitely a true statement.
It is what a rock and roll show should be. They are the rock and roll band. They are the last real rock stars. They are so great. They were great when I saw them. I just wish they'd have played longer.
$25, and these stadium tours with these bands,
they blow them all away. Blow them all away.
You're not going to have as much fun at one of those shows as The Darkness.
Great rock and roll show.
The energy and the fun, and you can't go wrong. So highly recommend.
Best rock and roll band going right now.
And I don't know. You have anything? Final thoughts of The Darkness of being one of 10 women in a 1,100 capacity crowd?
Clear your throat.
I just think that I believe in a thing called love.
There you go.
Well, there we go, Michael. Thanks again for the great recommendation of The Darkness. Of course, I'm losing my voice because he shouted through the night. So stay frosty, my friend.
Stay frosty. Thank you, Brett Garsky and Rock and Roll Princess. Rock and Roll Princess, very good sport. I appreciate you making the sacrifice for your boyfriend or husband. All right. Thank you, Brett Garsky. You too can leave a show review or audio comment. Should I just play another one now too? I think I'm going to go ahead and do another one. What do we got here? I don't know what this one is, but I'm going to play it anyway.
Hey, Michael Butler, how you doing?
I'm super great. Couldn't be better.
Good. Glad to hear it. This is Rock and Roll Zach, and I've got
Zach.
a twofer for you today. That's 2 show reports in one. These are a little bit overdue. They're 2 concerts from 2017.
Okay.
But I figure better late than never, right?
Right.
Okay, so in December, I managed to see Greta Van Fleet in Kansas.
And you know what I think about Greta Van Fleet. By the way, I did get some people. I ran into people. As a matter of fact, at the at the Saxon show backstage, this DJ who is a DJ on the big rock station in San Francisco, 107.7 The Bone, walked up to me and said, "Hey, man, I listened to your podcast, and what you said about Greta Van Fleet, you are dead on the money." And then the next night at Judas Priest show, somebody else told me that too. So everybody thought Greta Van Fleet was the saviors of rock and roll and the greatest thing since sliced bread, but apparently some people agree with me. I saw somebody sent me a video too of them playing Coachella.
Of $10. And I know you're not that big a fan of Greta Van Fleet, but for my money, they were a great live band.
Oh, good.
These are kids from Michigan. They're 18 to 21 years old.
18 to 21. Remember, Def Leppard had their second album out before they were 21. Second album, and both the first and the second are, to this day, classic albums.
I'm not even sure they need to shave yet, but they're rocking pretty hard.
They need to grow their hair out. At least the singer does.
And they pulled in a good college crowd.
Yeah, they're selling out shows.
Wide range of ages. Glad to say I was not the youngest person at this gig.
Thank God.
Sometimes that happens when you go see some classic rock guys and you look around and you see a bunch of old farts. But this was a good mix of ages, and everybody really enjoyed the show.
They're getting a big
push.
And
I bought some beers for some 21-year-old students who had just finished their exams for the year, and they were excited to see the band, as was I. So it was good. Okay, it's a little bit derivative of Led Zeppelin.
A little bit.
I think these kids are going to go places. Second show.
They probably will. We'll see. We'll see. So far, as of right now, they got one song that people know, which I don't like.
Saw a little bit earlier was Paul Weller live in Detroit in October. This is at a small venue, St. Andrews.
This is the modern world.
Hall, and it was a great show. For those who aren't familiar with Paul Weller, he's not that well known in the U.S., but I've been listening to Paul Weller since 1977 when he was with the Jam, and then later in his career, Style Council, and then as a solo artist, and it was phenomenal. Incredibly tight band. Guitar player who works with him is a guy named Steve Craddock. He's part of Ocean Color Scene, kind of a mod revival band. They toured with Weller some years back, and then he just kind of started being his sidekick. It was a really, really good show. People were on their feet the whole time, and he played a lot of old songs from the Jam, as well as Style Council, and from his more recent album. I shot video of both these shows, so there's a little bit of a review, photos, and video live at guitarvibe.com if people want to check it out. And I think that's about it.
Guitarvibe.com. I will try to post a link. I may forget, Zach, but I will try to post a link. By the way, Zach, thank you for the donations. I really appreciate it, friend.
My other thing to say is stay frosty.
Stay frosty, friend. You, too, can leave an audio comment or show review. Area code 706-621-ROCK. That's area code 706-621-7625. Or the preferred way is just email it to. Just record it on your phone or wherever and email it to me at rockandrollgeek@gmail.com. Because Skype now sucks and it just sucks. Most of the time it doesn't go through. All right. I'm going to play a song now and then we'll come back and read some emails and other things. Where's the cough button? Oh, no. Now Brett Garsky's rubbing off on me. Ugh. Here is a brand new song from Manic Street Preacher, speaking of British mod music. The album's called Resistance is Futile. I like Manic Street Preacher. Generation Terrorist, great album. I was looking forward to getting this new album. The album's not great, but I like this song a lot. This song is called International Blue.
You wrote your autograph on the far side of the sky. You were cut at the falling ring, but you never told us why. You painted with fire, only the ashes now remain, the monochrome desire. You left us too young to explain. Well, you lead us to an empty room and frame it with that stacks of blue. That little boy who saw the truth, he left us with international blue. International blue. Here's my gift to you, a soundtrack to the void, the deepest of interludes, the mist that you destroyed, and I saw that color through a clear wide window, and I saw that color, and I knew I had to go. Well,
There you go. Manic Street Preachers. That song's good. I've listened to the album twice, and there's a few good songs on it. I was going to do a track by track on it, but it probably wouldn't be interesting enough. But there's probably four or five decent songs on the album. I'm going to take a sip of this Tecate. I just opened up another Tecate. This is the third one of the show, and I'm starting to get a pretty good buzz here. Let me take a sip of this one. Because I've been up since 4 a.m. When you're up all night, when you've been up early and it's 9 p.m., it's easier to get drunk. It's already 9 o'clock. Shit, I have to get up early too. Oh well. Anyway, I got an email from Bob Heslap. Hey Michael. Friend of the show, Bob Heslap. I've never done this type of cruise before. It's entitled Monsters of Rock Cruise. I've never done this type of cruise before. It looks like it's nearly sold out already. It's pretty tempting. DAD's on the cruise. Wild Hearts with Danny McCormick back in the band, and Rose Tattoo on the bill. How about that? Jet Boy's playing that Monsters of Rock Cruise. Jet Boy without Michael Butler. I have to say I'm kind of envious of Jet Boy because I would like to see Rose Tattoo. You know those guys are going to be hanging out. Rose Tattoo, DAD's playing. That means DAD's probably got a new album coming out, too. That's something to look forward to. Wild Hearts with Danny back in the band. Danny with one leg amputated. The Wild Hearts are doing a new record, too. This is like early 2019. So Joel from Featherwitch is playing on the Monsters of Rock Cruise with Vane. Damn, I would like to be on that thing. I'm beyond envious. I'm jealous. That's going to be a good Monsters of Rock Cruise. So if you can afford it, Bob, go. I can't afford. It's too rich for my blood, man. Because it's $2,500 or something like that just for the cruise, and then you're gonna have to buy. Then you got to buy beers for $10 to $13 a piece. Figure you're gone a week. If I'm on a cruise doing nothing but watching music and sitting by the pool all day, I'm going to put down 20 beers a day, easily. So 20 beers a day, just assume they're $10 a beer. 20 beers, that's $200 a day just on beer. I heard you have to buy water too. The only thing is that you don't have to pay for is like juice. So $200 a day for beer. Times 6 days, it's another $1,500 just for alcohol. I wish I was rich, I'd do it, but maybe Jet Boy will ask me back in the band. Who knows? Maybe not. All right, one more email I'm going to read from Bruce McMillan. Let me take a sip of this fine Tecate before I do. Maybe I'll be slurring my words before I finish this. Hey, Michael, how you doing? Super great, couldn't be better. Still checking your emails? Ooh. Ouch. I haven't heard you read one in a while. Ooh, double ouch. I don't recall if it was an old show I was listening to on your app or a new one. It must have been an old show because it was a review of Lulu by Metallica. And you trashed Lou Reed pretty badly, which he deserved, I think. There were maybe 2 good songs on the album. Did I trash the album? I thought I gave that album a fairly decent review. Are you sure I trashed it? I'm going to have to go back and listen. What struck me was how much you trashed Lou Reed overall, not just on Lulu. I wondered if you've ever listened to New Sensations or New York. New Sensations is one of my Desert Island records. Give it a shot. I love everything about it. 2 of my favorites are Doing the Things That I Want to Do. Wait a minute. 2 of my favorites are Doing the Things I Want to and My Friend George. Bass lines are pretty good throughout too. Stay Frosty, Bruce McMillan, the rock and roll banker. I have kind of softened my dislike of Lou Reed, not because he's dead. Maybe it is because he's dead subconsciously, but as I've grown older, I still think he was extremely overrated, but I don't find myself as annoyed by Lou Reed as I used to. As a matter of fact, I kind of don't mind listening to him now after all these years. His voice is kind of I'm kind of not disliking his voice that much now. And some of the songs are half decent. So in honor of you, Bruce McMillan, rock and roll banker, I want to hear what he thinks. Okay, this is his Desert Island album, New Sensations. The two songs he said are My Friend George and Doing the Things We Want To. How about a little bit of Doing the Things That We Want To? See how this is. I have not heard this in years, so. New Sensations came out in 1984. Is that right?
The other night, we went to see Sam's play, doing the things that we want to. It was very physical.
All right, it's sloppy, but I can see the appeal of Lou Reed. I mean, my wife was saying this earlier because I was trying to find another Lou Reed song to play, and she kind of agrees with me that he's not that great, but I agree with what she said. The appealing thing about Lou Reed is he didn't seem to give a crap about what anybody thought about his music. And he kind of marched to his own drummer, which you got to appreciate. All right, I could
the man was bullish, the woman
smoke a big fat joint, get wasted, and put my headphones on and sit in the dark and stare at the wall and listen to this.
When they finished fighting,
if my wife or anybody else was pissed off at me, I could sit in the dark, stoned, drinking Tecates, and listen to Doing the Things We Want To.
It reminds me of the movies Marty made about New York.
Yeah, it's not that bad. And I think I said this when I reviewed that Lulu album, that I think that album's going to end up being far more appreciated than it was when it first came out. Did I really trash it? I don't think I did.
Doing the things that I want to.
I also was not aware that you could listen to old episodes on the app that are no longer... where they were on the Mevio servers and they're no longer, you can't hear them. You can listen to them on the app. That's good to know.
But you could still see a movie.
I think I might need confirmation of that because it didn't sound right, but maybe it is right.
Here's to Travis Bickle and here's to Johnny Boy. Growing up in the mean streets of New York.
So if there's an old episode that you can't listen to on RnRGeek.com, try getting the app, the Rock and Roll Geek app. See if it works for you there. If it doesn't, email me and I'll repost the episode.
Doing the things that we want to.
Speaking of reposting episodes, I think I'm going to do a repost of the Burton Avere from the Knack interview. I was just thinking about that the other day. Slusher and I were talking about it. Yeah, this song's okay. Doesn't really go anywhere, but I don't dislike it. It's pleasant. All right. You too can send me an email, rockandrollgeek@gmail.com, with the subject line, Butler. What's the subject line, Butler? That's good enough. All right. I also would like to say, I meant to say this a long time ago, but when Michael Street was on the show, I had planned on doing RIP to Mars Cowling, but I forgot. So I'm doing a make good now. Mars Cowling, bass player on the classic Pat Travers records. That guy was so fucking good on the bass. I think he died of did he have leukemia? I read somewhere he had prostate cancer. Then I read somewhere else he had like super too far gone leukemia. They haven't really released the details of how he died, but I'm guessing it's probably leukemia. Anyway, that guy was such a ripping bass player. He wore his bass super high, but there was a band I played in when I was a kid. We were going to play a Pat Travers tune called I think we were going to play Rock and Roll Susie. I couldn't play the bass part. We could not play the song because I could not play the bass part. Somebody, the guitar player we had was a ripping guitar player named Mick McDonald. He was like a Michael Schenker clone as far as playing style. He was a super fan of Michael Schenker and Scorpions and all that. And we tried to learn this song, and he showed me the bass. I'll play the song for you in a second. I couldn't play it. We could not play the song. I eventually ended up having to leave that band because I wasn't good enough to play those kind of songs. But rest in peace, Mars Cowling. Ripping bass player. Not one of my favorite bass players only because he wore his bass too high, but in the 70s, he was probably one of the most shredding bass players that there were back then. I was going to play either Go All Night or Rock and Roll Susie, but the song that I could not learn was Rock and Roll Susie, so I'm going to play that for you now. Then we'll say some parting words and we'll get the hell out of here, friends.
Uh-oh. Look out. Here it goes.
You're listening to this and you're hearing, oh, it's one note. How hard can that be? But listen to this. When a 16-year-old kid was not easy to play, and it gets harder.
Gonna show my soul alive. I'm gonna pick up Susie, don't you know it's gonna be
and Pat Travers was badass back then.
We're gonna shake our heads around, getting down to that raunchy sound. That PT is playing, rocking his lazy town, rock and roll.
Listen to that end. right, listen to that bass part again. This end part. Listen, tell me you can play. Maybe you can, but I couldn't back then when I was a kid. Listen to this. That is badass. All right. Rest in peace, Mars Cowling. Rest in peace, friend. All right. I'm going to play one more song. We're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for sticking with me, even when I haven't done a show in a month. I'm going to try my best to do a show again. I got to try to keep it a show a week. I have to learn. The Butlers are playing in Hawaii. We're playing a wedding, and then we're doing another gig at a bar in Hawaii at the end of the month. Got new songs I got to learn for those. I got a whole bunch of stuff I got to do, but I'm going to make sure I fit in a Rock and Roll Geek show as often as I can, friends. Thank you for sticking with it. I apologize for being slacking doing them. Like I said, I am humbly buzzed right now. All right, enough of that. All right, I'm going to close out with a song by this. Bob Spencer is this guy who now he plays with Rose Tattoo, but he was in the Angels back in the early 80s. He played in Skyhooks. Did he play in Sky? He probably played in some version of Skyhooks. Bob Spencer, I've always been a big fan of his, and I had him on the show, and just out of the blue, he emailed me and asked me for my address, and I gave him my address, and he sent me a copy of his brand new CD, which is called Saints and Murderers. He's playing in Rose Tattoo right now, so he'll be on the Monsters of Rock cruise. Fuck! The album's really good. It's called Saints and Murderers. He put it out himself, and he recorded almost all the instruments, I believe. Here's Bob Spencer. Thank you so much for listening, friends. Thanks for sticking with me through all this, and I hope you continue to stick with me. Thank you for the donations. Please keep the donations coming. Without your donations, this show would die a horrible, putrid, stench-filled death. We will talk to you very, very soon, friends. Here's Bob Spencer. Oh, let me tell you how you can reach me before I do that. You can find me on the Facebook, RnRGeek. You can find me on the Twitter, RnRGeek. You can find me on the Instagram, RockandRollGeek Don't Ask. You can find this show at rockandrollgeek.com. Don't forget to click on the Amazon link if you're too cheap to donate. Click on the Amazon link when you buy something and I'll get a kickback. And don't forget to leave me a show review or an audio comment. I will talk to you very soon, friends. Here's Bob Spencer. Here's Bob Spencer. Ugh. Maybe I should just push play. That might help. Fuck.
Change its color. I'd give anything
It's a rock and roll geek train wreck.